Up after the break, we'll take a look at.
Pardon the interruption for a very important news update.
This is no holds barred. We go hard, we go harder. In the ring, on the mic, every shot is no holds barred. Feel the charge, feel the armor. Bobby Josh in your brain, turn it up, go farther, farther, farther. Theme hits loud, then the grips come off. Call out the card, call every payoff. Botches, legends, titles, and heat. Pay-per-view nights, run it back, repeat. They slam, we analyze. Move for move, every feud, every bruise, every demon move. This is no holds barred. We go hard, we go harder. In the ring, on the mic, every shot is no holds barred. Feel the charge, feel the armor. Bobby Josh in your brain, turn it up, go farther. Turn it up, go farther. Turn it up, go farther. No script, just true. Every jab breaks through. From the bell to the bro. Name the show. We want it all. 1, 2, 3. This is no holds barred. We go hard, we go harder. In the ring, on the mic, every shot is no holds barred. Feel the charge, feel the armor. Bobby Josh in your brain, turn it up, go farther. Turn it up, go farther. Turn it up, go farther.
All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday and welcome to another edition of the No Holds Barred Wrestling Podcast here on FTSN. I'm Bobby Melendez, joined always by my tag team partner, Josh Kimmel, and we are on our second episode of the Hulk Hogan Real American Series review.
Yes.
We're reviewing episodes 3 and 4. Been on a small bit of a hiatus, but that's all right. We're back here. Josh, my brother, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Worn down. I mean, I'm not going to do a promo. I might not be my eccentric self today, but I will have I have thoughts, especially on episode 4. Episode 4, to me, you were talking on the mic test and the sound check before the show about how episode 3 was probably your favorite, or at least the most enjoyable, or had a lot of stuff. I really liked episode 4. Well, liked and have a lot to talk about are probably two different things, but it showed me who really Hulk Hogan was. So I can't wait to talk about it, honestly. And I think there were shots of the remember last time we spoke about, man, he was at the Total Wine across the street or next door to me, and I couldn't go, and I didn't even want to go, but I think they were filming in that store. I think that was the store, because I've been in that store many, many times. And it's so funny to see. I'm sorry, I'm hijacking.
No, go.
He's driving on the Courtney Campbell Highway. Like, I drive these roads, brother. Like, it's so funny to see how close, like, he is to me. Like, I knew he was always close to me, but like, that whole series is like, oh shit, sorry. Oh, I've been there. Oh, I know that place. I know where he's driving. Oh, I know that road sucks. Oh, like, it's just funny.
That road sucks. No, it was, Sammy laughed at me the other day because I was like, I'm not really looking forward to episode 4 because I kind of know how it ends. I said, but I got through it, and there was things that I learned that I didn't really know about. I knew about, obviously, the sex tape. I knew about this transcripts, which we'll get there because it's there. But I didn't know, I knew how ugly the divorce was with Linda. But I didn't know some of the other thing that kind of bit him in the ass early on. And we're going to talk about it. But we're going to start off first with episode 3, which is titled Hollywood Hogan. And again, why and I'm with you, though. Episode 4 was good. Again, it showed me things that I wasn't where I knew, but I didn't know how deep. But we'll get into that. But first, episode 3, Hollywood Hogan, and again, this is really, it talks about Hogan starting to tease retirement from the WWF after reigning supreme on the WWF. But like a lot of those guys back in the day, and even now, minus maybe John Cena, but we'll see what happens tonight at Backlash. And I'm full disclosure, I've been so caught up with everything with the channel, and shout out to everyone tuning in. And, if you're just new to the channel, we surpassed 3,000 subscribers. We're at 3,800 right now, Josh. So shout out to our new viewers and anybody who's new to the channel, who's watching this show. Whenever you do watch it, let us know where you're watching from. Let us know your thoughts on Hulk Hogan. Let us know your thoughts on the current landscape of pro wrestling. We discuss it here, all of it here on No Holds Barred Wrestling Podcast, and also on Real Talk Wrestling on FTSN Extra with Josh Kimmel, Clutch, and El Ginger Americano. But here we kind of catch up on documentaries, pay-per-views, PLEs, whatever you want to call it. We talk about everything here. But anyway, talking about Hulk Hogan, reigning supreme on the WWE, the WWF at the time, starts to tease retirement because, his kids and, he's talking about Linda being the MVP mom, doing everything, wife, supportive, but not always around. So it starts to creep in. But like all people like that, competitors, whatever you want to call it, you think of the Hogans and just wrestlers, Flair. But you also think of athletes like Michael Jordan, who retired, but then he came back. Hogan was like, I'm going to retire. And then he just didn't like it. He wasn't the same guy at home, would come back. We see the situation in WrestleMania 9, which we'll talk about. But he always did come back. No one believed that he was going to do it. Even when he talked about it, he seemed like he was serious. No one believed it. So it was very early on that he started talking about it. What do you think about that first start of episode 3 when that started to creep in?
Yeah, it was funny, Brett. Finally we get Bret Hart, because Bret Hart was very nice the first couple episodes. He was very nice about Hogan. And then finally we get episode 3 where he's like, my best friend, Hulk, come to save the day, steal my title. Like, logically that didn't make sense, but we'll get there, I'm sure. Yeah, when wrestlers talk about retirement, in full disclosure, John Cena's not coming back. It's Club WWE related. I've said it. I literally texted you the minute that promo went on Raw. So, no, it's just when wrestlers talk about retirement, think about all of them. Ric Flair, especially the older ones. Undertaker, how many times did we think he had his last match? Shawn Michaels even came back. Like, everybody comes back and it tarnishes their legacy. I don't think Hogan tarnishes legacy by coming back, though, or by teasing it. I think it kept fans intrigued, and I think he knew. I think watching this entire thing, I learned Hulk Hogan is the master manipulator. He can make anyone like him. He can manipulate anyone to buy his BS. And I think that's when he was teasing retirement. They're going, oh wow, they see Brett, they see Shawn, they see all these guys, and I'm still living my 80s heydays. Let me tell them I'm going away, so they're about to miss me. I think. See, that's what I think it was. I'm looking at this. Trust me, guys. I've watched these episodes, and I was trying to be fair, but these 2 episodes are the reason why he got booed in LA. These 2 episodes. It wasn't just one thing. It was a lot of things. And him teasing retirement, taking people's spots. Oh, I wanted to be a bad guy. No, brother, it was Sting and Eric Bischoff, and you didn't think it was like a right idea, and then you did it because you knew Sting was going to do it. Brother, like this whole thing, like these 2 episodes, Bobby, especially this one, this is why people dislike you, brother. But how did you feel about this whole like retirement, coming back, all this crap? What do you think about it?
So again, talking about, I want to bring up what you're bringing up too, in regards of the manipulator part of it, right? Always looking for an angle. That's one thing I saw from it, right? Everything to him was an angle. I'm going to skip, we'll get to that part, but skip to the very end when Hogan got booed, right? You see how it impacted Jimmy Hart. You see Natty Neidhart talking about it, Cody Rhodes. What his perspective of what it was. Everyone had a perspective like, okay, was it the racial comments? Was it the support of Donald Trump? Was it in LA, which brought a part of it, right? Because if in California, which is more liberal, it could be about that as well. But what did Hogan think of it? Did it hurt? Jimmy Hart said it hurt Hogan, right? But what did Hogan say? Which,
that's great, brother.
Oh, he said, but Eric Bischoff came around the corner and said, look, it's awesome. Yeah, when you're a heel, you love it. But when you come in as the baby face and they're booing you, it's not great. But Hogan, what did he see? He saw an angle. He said, oh, wait a second. Because it's true. If they're booing you out of the arena, shows that they still care, which of course they're going to care whether they love or hate you. They still care. You're still Hulk Hogan. But he saw an angle, which again goes to your point, which comes to this here. Again, teases retirement. You see McMahon's face when he's talking about it. McMahon not really happy. And what are we going to do? Then he makes this he decides to come back. He's in a tag match with the Beefcake at WrestleMania. He's watching Bret Hart.
Hold on.
In this-
Can we pause real quick? Can we do a
Yeah.
timeout? I don't know if I'm glitching or you, but I can't hear anything. I don't think anyone can hear what you're saying.
You're glitching. I see you glitching. I don't know.
Okay.
You've gone a little what do you call it? Pixelated there. So I don't know if it's me or
Okay,
you.
so
I see you're
me.
pixelated. So can you hear me now?
No. I hear
No.
you and you're a robot, so it's gotta be my internet. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. If anything, you could drop out and come back in, or vice versa if it doesn't work. But to follow that point, in regards to WrestleMania 9, Hogan decides to come back. He's put in a program with Brutus the Barber Beefcake in a tag match. But also it shows Hogan, talking about when he was watching Bret Hart, Hogan steps away. Actually, it was the steroid scandal happened at this time. And, Hogan talking about the 3 commandments: train, say your prayers, take your vitamins. Jesse the Body says orals or injectables. Talking about the steroids. On the Arsenio Hall, that's when Hogan first did his first admitted lie, which he did not need to do at that time. I think if Hogan would have just said the truth and said, look, yeah, I screwed up, maybe, just maybe, it would have worked out, or wouldn't have started this avalanche of what people now say about him as everything's a lie. But he did it. Don't think he needed to do it. So he steps away for a little bit. Bret Hart finally starts to rise to the top. Hogan, watching this, seeing this going down from home, says, you don't need to do that. Or says, this ain't happening. This ain't working out. So decides to let's see if Josh comes back here. Josh was frozen. I think he's good now. Josh,
can you hear? Are we back, brother?
Yeah, we're back. I was rolling, but we're good. Okay. I did see you were frozen, so I was like, let me just keep going. So just talking about the steroids. I kind of jumped a little bit, but we're talking about the steroid scandal before WrestleMania 9, where Hogan, Hogan would take his vitamins, say his prayers, train. Linda was like, that's what he would do. And then Jesse the Body's like, yeah, was it orals or injectables? What are we talking about? We say take your vitamins. And then Hogan doing his first admitted lie on the Arsenio Hall show, where again he says, oh, I got him his job, so I was like, I'm gonna go on his show. And Hogan's like, I didn't do that. I wouldn't do that, because he's trying to protect his character, protect his reputation. Which, truth be told, what I was saying is, think about it, he didn't really need to do that. If he would have came out and just said, you know what, yeah, this was legal back then, I did it helped me, got me to where I am, but now, whatever. Of course, hindsight's 2020. He did it, started that avalanche of Hogan's lies and what's true, what's not with Hogan. So Hogan steps away, goes away for a while. He's a little pre-retirement or first retirement, what do you want to call it? Watches Bret Hart start to climb up the rankings. Sees Hogan, Bret's about to take that spot, and Hogan watching it on TV, and he's like, "No, brother." He says, "No, brother, that ain't happening." So Hogan comes back. He says, Bret Hart. This is what Hogan said. Now, current, before he passed away, he said, Bret Hart, is it that feature film that you thought you were going to see? That's what he thought of Bret Hart back then as the top guy. Film is not as good as I thought it was. So WrestleMania 9 comes along. Hogan's put in a program with the Barber Beefcake tag match, but the plan is Hogan and McMahon draw it up where, Bret and Yokozuna are going to have this match.
Yep.
Powder in the face. Hogan comes out, makes the save. Bret Hart goes to shake Hogan's hand or something, and Hogan did not acknowledge Bret, according to Hart, but Hogan denies that. Hogan says, maybe I was on drugs. I don't know. I don't remember that at all. Hogan's stroke with Vince. So that's one thing I wrote on there, his stroke with Vince at that point, being able to, and so they do it, they run it. And you were just talk to me about Bret Hart's points of this.
Yeah, stroke with Vince is perfectly said. I believe Bret. Listen, you said something great. Hogan doesn't remember. Not to go too off the rails, but I've been listening to I've been a lot of busy, in the car driving. I've been busy, so I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. I've been listening to a lot of Jim Cornette, and he covered all 4 of these episodes. I didn't listen to his assessment of episode 4 yet, because I had just watched it today. But he's debunking like everything. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. They're allowing Hogan to lie on the show. Like that didn't happen. That's a lie. Linda's lying. Like he's tearing this thing apart because he was there. He was around that era. So like I don't believe that made me not believe anything Hulk Hogan has said during this entire show. That being said, seriously, that being said, I believe Brett because I think Brett's brutally honest and I think Brett has nothing to lose. And I think Brett is one of the most honest people, although he is prickish and I don't like what he says sometimes, but he's truthful. So yeah, this was kind of ridiculous. And the fact I think the only thing Hogan said truthful in this whole thing, honestly, was his assessment of Bret Hart. Or anytime he was talking about another talent about how he's better than that talent. He thought he was God. You can't deny that. Nobody can. But what a like imagine today in 2026 backlash today. Jacob Fatu, whatever. Roman's best friend comes in and beats Jacob Fatu for the title, and Roman's supposed to accept that. Like, what a stupid storyline. Who came up with that? That sounds like a Hogan idea, and I think Brett even said that sounds like a stupid Hogan idea. I think he actually said that. So, again,
yeah, he said something like in the sense of something only Hulk, the dumb mind of something like Hulk Hogan would come up with, something like crazy thing that Hogan would come up with.
But that just goes along with his ego at this time. Like at this time, he thought he could do whatever he wanted, and he could, and he did. And
he had the stroke.
It worked. But it's just wild to me that Vince did this multiple times with Hogan. This wasn't the first time. It's not the last time. He does it again in the fourth one we watched. That episode comes back to WWE after being old busted. So I don't know what Vince was always trying to grasp at the glory days with Hogan, but man, that era definitely passed him by. But to be honest with you, we're going to get to the NWO stuff soon. I'm excited to hear what you think about that part of this whole documentary because they didn't go deep enough into it, I don't think.
No,
I think they just brushed right over it.
Yeah. So after Hogan gets the rub, and I will say though, it always makes me giggle a little bit when I hear guys like Bret Hart. Really, it's more him, but there's few of them that will, when they say something about, Hogan's stroke and Hogan this, and he didn't want to pass the ball or whatever the hell. When they all did the same thing. Bret Hart did the same thing. He didn't want to drop it to Shawn. He wanted to drop it to someone else. He didn't want to take the powerbomb from Kevin Nash because it made him look bad. And Undertaker got pissed at him and said, it's not always about you. I mean, all the top guys do it because you want to protect your spot. And Hogan did his job. And that's why first off, Hogan did bring it to another stratosphere. He made it to what it was. They talked about in episode 4, we wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, which is true. The character, Terry Bollea, whoever you want to call him. Wrestling wouldn't be where it was if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan. Hogan lasted, how many decades did he have like these ribs? He had the first decade, then he did, had, the Hulkamania, then he went NWO, and then he had that last run in the WWE when he had that epic match with The Rock and had that final run before he finally fell off the face of the earth in regards of what he can do. So, I mean, every time I hear guys say that, especially somebody like Bret Hart, it's like, show me a real wrestler who hasn't done it. Even John Cena, who everybody says, man, he's great. He talks to the young guys. He works with the girls. He talks about, even John Cena gets thrown under the bus, without throwing under the bus, but when he says, he buried this sofa. And I'm like, who did they bury? The Spirit Squad. He buried that guy that hung out with the Miz the one time.
Wade Barrett.
Nexus, thank you. It's kind of like all of them do it because you got to protect your spot, or you're going to go, or, Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was voted the number one guy, and I've sent you all that, and maybe we'll do a show on that, with the voted the number one superstar. Bret Hart was for Bleacher Report. That's a whole other conversation for another day. But Stone Cold Steve Austin, what did he do? He didn't want to do a match. He didn't want to put over Brock Lesnar on a random Raw. He said this should be a pay-per-view. We should build this up. That screams Hulk Hogan. Hogan used to say the same thing. Okay, you're going to do that. What's next? What's the next thing? So every time I hear things about that with Hogan, it's like, he wasn't the only one. They all followed that because they all learned maybe from Hogan, you got to protect your character, protect your brand. It never bothers me. Every time I hear that, it doesn't bother me. It makes sense. I don't know why people get all butthurt over it.
Because you're not looking at from the perspective of what I'm looking at, which is fine. I'm looking at Hogan is, for me, Brett was like, I'll drop the title, but not to Sean, because Sean's not the person that is supposed to carry this company. Sean's a terrible person. At that time, he was. At that time, Sean was a terrible, terrible person to the talent in the back.
To the
Definitely
talent in the back,
was.
but not the crowd in the arena. The crowd loved
Of
them.
course. So Brett was like, I don't think this is best for business giving this to Sean. Where and who else? What else? What other? Austin. I don't think it's best for business to lose right now. Let's do it at pay-per-view. Everything was on the business for the everything you just brought up was like, no, this will be better for the business. Hogan's like, no, this is better for me. This is better for me in my stock, in my character. It was always about him. He never once cared about the business. He cared about the business. Hold on. He never once went, what would be so wrong? What would be so wrong if Brett kept the title and Hogan and Brett had a match, a program where maybe Brett gets one over on Hogan and then Hogan. What was so wrong about that? Why couldn't they figure that out instead of this terrible, beyond imagine, Bobby, imagine if I just we're friends and you're down on your luck and I just scoop on in, Bobby, and take whatever you wanted from you and go, hey, buddy, I'm sorry you failed at this, but I took it from you and I took it from him. Be happy for me. You'd be like, brother, where were you when they threw the sand in my face or the dust in my face? Where were you at before this happened? Like Hogan's that whole segment of WrestleMania 9 sums up Hogan's career to me. Sums up his career. Just take, man. And then he's all pissy about we're going into the fourth episode about Sean overselling. It's so funny to me that he's bitching about Sean overselling when Sean was the same in Triple H too. When Triple H talked about Hogan, they were the gatekeepers when in their era. They were the ones burying people. Kevin Nash wants to beat CM Punk. No. I'm gonna bury CM Punk myself. Those were words from Triple H.
Mm-hmm.
They were the gatekeepers, and Hogan was. So it's funny to see when Hogan doesn't like when someone's doing that shit to him. It makes him upset. But Sean was just doing it for Hogan's reaction to make him look whatever. It's just, you're right, though. They all do it. And the guys at the top do it. Cena, Shawn, Triple H, they all do it. The people that do take it for the business, there's one right now. He's in AEW. His name is MJF. But it's detrimental. Look at what is happening. Oh, I'll job to Darby Allin. What happened to the AEW ratings, brother? They dropped because MJF he should have fought and said, no, I'm not going to lose to this pipsqueak in 5 minutes after I just beat Kenny Omega in a 45-minute match. No. So I see both sides of it.
But I'll say again, it's all about the character. And again, when Hogan was on top, Hogan would get the money, he would cut the check, blah, 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 right? You get that, right? So I'll give you that part in regards of looking at Bret Hart and going, nah. But also what you just said about Bret Hart saying, looking at Shawn Michaels, I'm not going to drop the belt to Shawn Michaels because he's an asshole or for, whatever, and they had done business before, but he goes, I'm not going to do it at that point. He went into business for himself. I'm not doing it. Of course, Vince McMahon had to turn it around. Vince McMahon never had to do that with Hogan. Never had to do that with anybody. To me, you saying that, I'm like, that's exactly to me what he did with Bret Hart. He looked at Bret Hart and he goes, no, this guy can't be the top guy. He doesn't look like a top guy because that's what it was back then. He didn't look like a top guy. He didn't feel like a top guy. Yeah, he's really good in the ring. He knows all the technical moves, but he's not Hulk Hogan. He's not good on the mic like Hogan. He wasn't the size of Hogan, which again, that's where wrestling was going. Didn't last too long because fans didn't care. I mean, it was a big moment when Darby Allin won. Everybody was, oh my God, the crowd popped. But as soon as it was over, it was like, okay, we're still doing that. I forgot he's a champ. Okay. It's the same thing. Kind of, that's what it was. And Hogan was like, no, this ain't going to happen. No, I can't I'm still around. Why would this guy? So again, it is best for business because Hogan at that time, that's why Vince McMahon said, yeah, you're right. We're going to change this. Hogan was best for business. But of course, immediately after it happens, at that point, people are starting to get bored of Hulk Hogan. They're starting to change now. The fans are not cheering as much. The fans are kind of get sick. And after Hogan won, he asked McMahon, he says, what's next? And McMahon says, I think your run is about over. Red and yellow is dead. So Hogan at that point, McMahon's like, we're going to wrap this up and, maybe he'll retire or do whatever the hell he wants. And Hogan feels betrayed by Vince. And Hogan says, who's stronger, the machine behind me or me. So Hogan goes off on Vince. And Vince tells, they have this huge blow up, which I really appreciated that part of it. I've never heard, because we had that story years later at WrestleMania 19 where McMahon goes off on Hogan and says, you testified against me. You tried to kill me, blah, 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 in this business. And you're like, how much of it was a shoot? How much of it was real? And then you hear about Hogan saying, we had this huge blow up at each other. And you got to imagine these two guys, McMahon probably even saying, when people go, man, if it wasn't for Hogan, this would not be where it is. McMahon probably saying, no, if it wasn't for us, this wouldn't be where it is. So, and something that comes place, like, okay, I want to see what I can do without you as my lead dog. And Hogan saying, okay, I want to see what I can do without you as your lead dog. I'm going to try to go somewhere else. Hogan ends up leaving. And McMahon says, you'll never work here again. That's what he said to Hogan. Hogan goes into acting. Does Mr. Nanny. We all know those type of, Natty says, Hogan was the first star to transcend WWE. Even without the WWE, he was on Regis and Kelly. He was still doing 1,000 other things. He was on movies. People wanted to see Hogan, so they saw the movies. They weren't good movies, but they still saw him. So Hogan ended up leaving, and he started again getting that itch. Talk about that ending with Hogan out right after WrestleMania 9, drops the belt to Yokozuna, leaves, has this blow up with Vince McMahon. What are your thoughts on that part of that episode? Oh, you're muted. I don't hear you. I don't hear you, and I don't see the green dots on the screen, so it must mean your mic is disconnected. We'll wait for Josh. Josh, having a day. We can see him. He hears us. We don't hear him. Whoa, I hear sound. I hear something.
Yeah, I clicked.
There it is.
Did you guys see me touch my mic? It just came. It's been that kind of week. It's been that kind of couple weeks here at the Kimmel household. So I'm sorry, guys. But I will say this. Vince was wrong. How come no one says that? Vince was wrong. How come you said, oh, it's best for business? Vince was wrong. Bringing Hogan back, him jobbing, him beating Yoko after Brett. Nobody brings that up. It was wrong. But either way, he did go into Hollywood. They had that big blow up. You'll never work here again. Sure. He says that to everybody. It's just one of these boss things. He owned the WWE, bro. This wasn't a public company at this point. It was his baby. He could do whatever he wanted. So that power, he threw it around. Vince, that is. So it is what it is. I'm more curious of Hogan being bored on set, he said. Or, bro, I just got tired of doing the same thing over and over and over and over. And I'm just sitting there waiting for someone to call me for a 2-second shoot. And you know what's funny about that? I heard that from Dolph Ziggler. I heard that from Chris Jericho. I heard that from Dwayne. I heard that from Batista. That transitioning from live pro wrestling, where everything is live, there's no retakes, there's no, cut, going into the movie world.
Maybe we lost Josh again. He froze. Wait for him to come back in. It's been that type of week for Josh Kimmel. So we wait for him to pop back. Talking about wrestlers going into that type of environment. Let's see. There it is. He fell off. So we'll go ahead and wait for him to come on back. But again, Hogan going into Hollywood and saying how bored he was, filming movies and TV shows, waiting in between takes, waiting for that call to come in. And, starting to get that itch, to come back because he thought he was done. He thought he was finished doing that, finished wrestling. He wanted to do acting, but, he's spending more time with his family. But even Linda Hogan at that point, too, was saying, Hogan was different. He wasn't the same. He wasn't happy. He wasn't happy the way he was back then. So Hogan at that point, around 94, I believe it was 94, was on Regis. Maybe it was Regis and Kathy. I think it was Kathy Lee Gifford at that point. Was talking, started getting that itch back. And wait, there we go. Do we got him back? Let's see. Maybe. There he is.
I don't understand what's happening. I'm so frustrated. Like, to be honest, it's my daughter's 14th birthday today. There's things going on in the hospital with my mother-in-law, and they're waiting on me to wrap up this show so we can go. Obviously, I'm dressed to go
Yes.
out afterwards, and they're waiting on me, and I can't get through the darn show if my internet spectrum keeps on doing this.
Oh man, I'm sorry. It's okay. I understand. You were bringing up Hogan on the set waiting. I was just talking about that as well. He started, bored on set. You heard, same thing happened with Jericho and a lot of these wrestler turn actors, or when they try to do that and then they get the itch to come back.
Yeah, and then he's on a sound set and he's filming that TV show, and then Eric Bischoff's like, "We want to be successful in WCW. We got to get Hogan." It just worked out that way, and I'm sure there's more details, stuff that I probably don't know. And they skipped a lot of stuff, but they bring him into WCW right afterwards, Bobby, like right during the middle of his failed Hollywood career. He gets the itch to go back. And honestly, it was probably the best decision he's ever made. I think his NWO run was better than any run he's ever had. And I know Hulkamania, but again, I'm from the 90s. I've watched it live, so I have bias. But it revived him. It just brought a new life to Hulk Hogan, to the character, to wrestling. I mean, this has been said many times, but I don't think wrestling where it would be at today without the NWO, without the Monday Night Wars. That brought a new generation of kids and teenagers to the product. Look at all the kids that are watching now. Call the people that are watching now. We're 90s kids. I was born in 85, going to middle school every single Tuesday, talking about this person's talking about The Rock and Stone Cold and Mankind. I'm like, you redneck losers. I'm talking about Hogan, Savage, DDP. It's like I look down upon the WWF people because, like, I got the NWO, brother. I got Hogan. I got Savage. I really look down upon those rednecks. I really did. But it made that communication. It was cool to talk about wrestling in school, in the middle of class. I'm wearing an NWO shirt. He's wearing a DX shirt. But we connect. Like, it was so cool. I can't explain, like, as much as disdain as I have for Hogan, I cannot not recognize that he's the one. I was there for Jericho. NWO got me. Jericho kept me. But I was there because of Hogan. I know, and I realize that.
So this is the second time Hogan made a decision that was best for him, for his brand. If you think about it, when he left the WWF or WWF and left Vince McMahon Sr. after he said, "I'll fire you if you go do Rocky," he does Rocky, goes to Minnesota, starts to build up Hulkamania, has a monster run in Minnesota. We see it happen with Jesse the Body. Vince Jr. sees it, grabs him, brings him to WWF, goes on, on Hulkamania's back and takes it to the stratosphere. Hogan's being told, which this happens a lot, and McMahon always gets where when McMahon says, we're done. I want you, he did it, Roger Man, whatever, tells you you're done sooner than you think you are. And the superstar, I'm not done. So what does Hogan do again? He bets on himself. He says, you know what, I'm out of here. Goes into movies, doesn't work, goes on Regis and Kathy Lee. I think that was who was on it at that point. And tells a story about, and I wrote this down because I heard it and it made me think like what we discussed before when Hogan brought up, it was the Hogan Lies episode, the Hogan Which Lies, Fact and Fiction, where Hogan says that he came up with the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. And he said that he was saying it in a promo shoot and Bret Hart was outside the room. They were like, oh, is that real? And then we found it. We found that clip. Well, and Hogan in this doc, in this series, in episode 3, Hogan says to Regis, this is 1994. Hogan says, this old lady saw him and says, Hogan, you are the greatest there ever was and ever will be. And I'm like, there it is again. So, who's really the liar? I wonder. I don't know. Anyway, goes into WCW. And you're right. This was another time where Hogan did something that ended up being probably the best thing for his career. It resurrected his career and it gave him that assurance. He said it. He said after everything, when he made this run with the NWO, where he was like, this proved that I was right to McMahon. It showed that I wasn't dead yet. My run wasn't over. And it did. WCW was not making any money at that time before he brought in, Hulk Hogan. This tells you the impact of Hulk Hogan, whether you believe that, he's the, I love Hogan, I hate Hogan, whatever. what did it do for the WWF, and then what did it do for the WCW? And this was WCW again. That was, where WWF was gimmicks and characters and flamboyance, and you had the Roosters, and you had the whatever, all these goofy dudes, the clowns. And even though WCW had that, WCW was a little bit real, had wrestling. WCW was not making any money at the time. You talk about rednecks, they were in Georgia, so that was more of their strategy. Losing money a notch or two above porn. That's what Bischoff said. That's what WCW said. A notch or two above porn. Bischoff told Hogan he could run the company. He had creative control. Just get lightning in a bottle. That's what he told Hogan. So, we talked about this a year ago, maybe. I don't know how long it's been since we talked about creative control. Was it right or was it wrong? We said, when you're that big of a star, and you think of where WCW was, and Bischoff was given this job by Ted Turner, rest in peace. Ted Turner just passed away.
Yes, he did.
Which, again, huge loss, right, for everything he's done, but also the main thing, WCW.
Yep.
At least for us. But anyway, he says, oh, what am I going to do? I'm going to bring the biggest star in professional wrestling, who is a free agent. WWF is like, oh, we're done with him. He's old goods. We're done. Brings in Hulk Hogan and tells him, Hogan goes, I don't know, dude. You're WCW. What am I going to do there? I'll let you control it. I'll have you can creative control, which then makes sense after all the years later. We figure out, oh, that's why he impacted all the stuff that he impacted. Was it right? In the end, long run, did it help? No. Did it help at that point? It did, right? It did. So now, as this is about to happen, though, we get the steroid scandal. McMahon goes to court. And Hulk Hogan is, you talk about the doctor and you see a picture with Hogan and the doctor, but they wanted to paint McMahon as a drug dealer, that he was the one supplying the steroids. And Hogan talks about how before the steroids were legal, so they were taking them, and then they got illegal, so they had to kind of. Mm-hmm. So Hogan is brought in to testify against Vince McMahon. Instead of throwing McMahon under the bus, Hogan says, McMahon never supplied me with anything. He never gave me anything. So basically helps McMahon get out of it. Despite Hogan helping Vince by saying he didn't give or sell steroids to him, Vince still dogged Hogan in the press. That was interesting to see. I never seen that clip of McMahon.
You haven't?
I never saw that clip of McMahon saying that about Hogan in the press after.
I've seen it.
That was really interesting. I thought that was so interesting. Go ahead.
It doesn't make sense. I don't understand. I've seen that clip, and I've always baffled, like, why is Vince upset with Hogan? He just saved his ass. He's like, why was he so upset after? Like, why? He just helped him. Like, Hogan told the story, and again, take everything Hogan says with grain of salt.
Yep.
He said, like, I've heard many, like, other shows or documentaries, like, yeah, they wanted me to go in there and say this and that and that. And I said, I'm not. He went up there and didn't say what they wanted him to say. They wanted him to say, yes, Vince was giving me this. Vince was doing this. And he said he was going to say that to them. And he went up there and said the truth, which in his mind.
He fell off again. But just to continue his point before he drops back in here, it's just the day's going that way. May have to continue episode 4 on another day, depending on how long we got, Josh. We're at 30 minutes, so we got time. But despite, he did told the truth, but also didn't throw him under the bus. He could have. Hogan was still bothered and hurt that McMahon decided to cut ties with him, or basically told him that his run was over. Hogan was into WCW. Maybe that's why McMahon was pissed. It's the same thing as McMahon being pissed at Randy Savage for leaving, or Kurt Angle for going to TNA after leaving the WWE after he told him to have time off. McMahon has always held a grudge against his guys when or who he perceives as his guys after they leave and go somewhere else. So McMahon, dogs Hogan in the media, and Hogan was pissed. Hogan, rightfully so. Hogan was furious. He's really, he's like, go ahead and after I just did that, after I just, basically saved you and your reputation and saved you from jail, you're going to come out and dog me for it. But again, that's not past McMahon. Again, he did it with the Macho Man after Macho Man left. He did it with Kurt Angle. After Kurt Angle was given time away, Kurt Angle goes to TNA, and McMahon held it against him. So much so that when he wanted Kurt Angle, or he wanted to retire with John Cena, he put him against Baron freaking Corbin. So it's not past McMahon to hold the freaking grudge. But anyway, Josh, continue your point. I apologize.
I don't want to continue any points. I want to get the stream over with. I'm excited to talk about episode 4. My internet must be just intermittent right now, but it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And I'm sorry to everybody. But I don't want to rush the show, but I'm tired of getting booted.
Yeah. I understand. So just saying very quick. Hogan, after that's all over, Hogan does WCW, has his match with Flair, has a big start. Everybody, is excited to see Hogan. But again, Hogan's character starts to take a turn. The fans start to turn on him. You see some people still cheering, but you see other people kind of not caring. They're booing, whatever. So Hogan says Hogan's character ran its course. You see the NWO, see the New World Order, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. Hogan again, watching TV, seeing this. Holy crap. What does he do? Again, makes a business decision for his character to change up his brand and hitches his wagon. We have the greatest heel turn in professional wrestling. The greatest heel turn. I mean, nobody's done it better. You have the shock factor, but no one does it better. I love the close-up shots. You see Mean Gene Okerlund's nose. Hogan's voice changes. I always, Hogan's voice, he was always, let me tell you something, brother. But this time it's a lot more crude. It's a lot more rude. What an epic way to change it and to get into NWO Hollywood, which you bring up, the hammer home your point, which was the coolest thing in pro wrestling. Like there was another thing on social media X the other day. Oh, what's better, DX or NWO? And again, that's a whole other show, but I'm just going to throw my point. There's no discussion. There is no real thing to do it. The NWO was the coolest thing in professional wrestling. Hollywood Hogan, whether you loved or hated Hogan, Hollywood Hogan was the coolest villain in professional wrestling. He was fun. Like how Hogan could be the best. He was so animated as a babyface. And then as a heel, he sold it so well. But he was the coolest. He was cool as shit. Everybody wanted a bandana. Everybody wanted glasses. Everybody wanted to wear the tank tops. Everybody wanted to dress like that. Hollywood Hogan was so freaking cool. And like you said, though, they skipped over a lot. They went to the finger poke of doom. Before you drop out another time, tell us about your thoughts on that little stitch of NWO that we saw.
Yeah, I feel like we've all broken this down many, many times. Supposed to be Sting. He saw an opportunity to take something away from somebody else. And he did it for himself. Again, selfish. Hogan strikes again. Like, listen, good for him though. Like, good for him. It was cool. Like it wouldn't have been as, we already talked about it. Wouldn't have been as memorable with Sting. Period. It would have just been another heel turn, another faction that came and went. It wouldn't have been. We wouldn't be wearing NWO shirts today if it was Sting. I don't think so.
It's true.
So that's again the selfishness of Hogan. Sometimes you have
paying off.
I know, but sometimes it does pay off. Sometimes it does, and it worked out. They didn't go into anything though. Right into the finger poke of doom, right into that. What a disaster that was. Now I think about it, like I know it was one of the worst things ever. There were 60,000 people in that stadium.
We already got their money, brother. They were hurting. That's what he said. Remember, that's what Hogan told Nash, because they were both beat up. Nash had that match with Goldberg for the title. Hogan was running for president at that time. They talked about that in the documentary. But Hogan told him, he said, what are we going to do? Why are we going to do that? We already got their money, brother. Let's do it. It did create the shock. It was a shock, but then looking back, it was terrible. It was terrible. But
before we get to episode 4, because I think that's next, it just proves that Vince, the machine, was the one that won out, not Hogan. Sorry, the machine bought Hogan's company. I'm just saying, like, I know this is he thinks it's a victory lap, like, oh, I had a run in me, but at the end of the day, it was still Vince. I'm just going to throw that out there. 2 despicable human beings, by the way. But I have to pick one. if there is a final verdict of this, like, was it Vince or Hogan? I'm gonna say it was Vince. Like, at the end of the day, who won? At the end of the day, whose company bought who? Who told Hogan what to do? All right. We'll get into episode 4, his last match with Randy Orton, all that stuff. Vince controlled everything at the end of the day. Who came crawling back to Vince? This isn't going to be a Bash Hogan show for the episode 4, but I got a lot of things to say, and I hope I don't crash out as like my internet goes out, because I said it from episode 1. Linda is showing herself as one of the worst human beings in the world, and man, she did not make a good case.
Lead off into episode 4.
Episode 4, brother. So much to say. First off, I just want to say I never watched Hogan Knows Best. I've never was into reality shows, but I knew it was around. That was an odd time. I know I'm skipping around things. I know you have your notes.
No.
Linda just proving the fact that she was off for the money and a horrible person from the start just showed herself. I can't think of anyone that walks away from this show and goes, wow, Linda was a good person. I just can't see that happening. She was a horrible person. God, don't get me started. Oh, we want to get Brooke's singing career off, but the producers kept on making my son look like a knucklehead because he's a fucking knucklehead. Like, they didn't talk about him killing people or him being a complete moron. Okay, the producers had him. I guess the producer wanted him to do that too. Brooke seems like the only sane person in this family.
That
was be a part of this.
I just want to say this. You continue your point. I just want to say this very quick, because I'm going to just, a lot of times for episode 4, I'm really going to listen. I'll react and talk. I'll let you roll with it. Because there is a lot to talk about, but I'm going to let you roll as long as you can go. But that was one of the most noticeable things. I love the dynamic of the family. When you hear about the story about the children and, everything else, we talked about that, right? I get it. But that was the most noticeable thing, Brooke not being there. And that, but as a father, like, I understand legacy, and I understand, again, I get it. We talked about Hogan being that rock star, which he was, right? He's one of the last real rock stars of professional wrestling. But I understand your legacy. My legacy, like, I would love FTSN to blow up, Josh. I would love Fantasy Now Plus to blow up. I would love for everything to blow up and us to be great and do what we do. But none of that would matter if my kids didn't think of me as a great dad or whatever. Like, I'm not going to judge. It is what it is. It is what it is. But that stuck out to me like a sore thumb. She wasn't involved. You never heard from her. You heard past audio from 2021 or something. But like, and we know, like, when you see those moments of Hogan with his kids, Hogan with Brooke, how much he loved Brooke and how much, again, Linda, as much as, the right criticism or whatever, which we'll get into, the home videos were great. That was the thing I love seeing, because we saw behind the scenes. We know what Hogan is best, but again, with fact and fiction with reality TV, but the home videos were perfect. And what you see in the home videos is a loving family. You see a loving dad. He's playing with his children. He's spending a lot of time with Brooke and dancing and being whatever. And that's really cool to see, because you're not looking at Hulk Hogan. You're seeing Terry Bollea, at least at home. But then what the finale, what the ending part is. And you're seeing everything now. And then you notice that she's not in that video. And neither was Jennifer, which is Hogan's second wife, by the way. So, and Brooke always talks about Jennifer. If you listen to her now, she always says, oh, Jennifer. So I always wondered what that dynamic was. But I'm sorry to stop you right there. But I just want to say, to what your point is, we saw a lot of Linda. We saw a lot of Nick. It was tough at the end, though. You see Nick working by himself out in the gym. That was tough to see, because I get it. But that's at the end. I don't want to skip. But what you didn't see was Brooke. You didn't hear about Hogan's grandchildren. And that's what fucking sucks. To me, that speaks more about anything else. Anything else. Again, I grew up a Hulk Hogan fan. The character Hulk Hogan, to me, is the greatest professional wrestling superstar of all time. He made wrestling what it is. I don't get into that stuff. I have my own point of view. Supports Donald Trump. That's his cup of tea. I don't care who he supports. That's his business. But I get why people were pissed at it. Or the people, he divided his family. Whatever. He took the stand. The racial things, there ain't nobody not one person has a right to say what you say. I don't care if it's behind closed doors. I don't care if it's in front of people. I don't care whatever. You have no right to say that word. There's no business you saying it. You said you're sorry. I get it. Everybody makes mistakes. We get it. People say stupid shit all the time, but you don't say that. And you say you apologize for it. No empty apologies, no nothing, right? I get all that. But people say stupid shit all the time. Josh, you and I, without knowing each other, we've done stupid things that we hope never comes out or that we truly are very sorry for. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that stuck out to me was not the burying people, was not making sure he stayed on top, was not the words, was not the divorce, was not the whatever, the father part. You knew how much you loved your kids. You knew how much your daughter loved you. You let your relationships, you let your ego cut your daughter out.
Yep.
I don't care how much my kids tell me whatever. I can never see me doing that. So that right there, I just want to say it there, that bothered me the most at the end of this. Sorry, go ahead.
No, as a dad, you're right, man. I couldn't imagine. I think about this all the time because I know people in my family that so-and-so hasn't spoken to so-and-so's mom in 25 years. It's a fact. I know a person like that.
Me too.
I know someone very close to me won't talk to their father for things that they've done.
He popped out again. That's okay. That's okay. We'll wait for him to drop back in. We're at episode 4 already, so we're close. And I don't mean to, rage or whatever the hell. But again, I understand people's getting angry about the politics stuff. It is what it is. You have Republicans, you got Democrat, liberal, conservative, whatever. You can't be anything anymore without somebody being pissed off. The racial commentary, the words that he said, which is, behind closed doors, again, closed doors or not, nobody should be saying those words. Nobody should be using that word in particular. There is no excuse for it. But I understand people say and do stupid things. I've heard it. I've seen it. And Josh is absolutely right. Hogan and Brooke and them are not the only people to have that. I've seen it. And there are reasons to do it, right? There are reasons to cut people out. Brooke has every right to do that. She was dealing with drama, her mother, her father, then she sees her dad was, if you listen to what she says now, was doing things that she didn't think was right because it was impacting her. That's her father. She doesn't want to see him going through all that shit. And then Hogan, instead of understanding what his daughter was doing, and you don't know what happens behind closed doors, you only hear her side of the story, but still, when you hear her side of the story, I get it. So what does Hogan do? She says, I want out of the will. I want to be just cut off. I love you, blah, blah, blah. He says, fine. He cuts her out, but he's totally out. And, so, yeah, there are people like that. But again, and I understand it, there are reasons that, but right there, that's not a reason. Like Hogan, you got 2 grandchildren. You had a daughter who loved you and whatever, and you don't have to agree. But like to totally cut that out, to me, was one of my biggest issues. But Josh, go ahead, continue your point.
Yeah, just talking about kids, like just him, stardom. Like, look at all the athletes in the world that you see Drew Brees win the Super Bowl and he has this kid with him. Like, it's his best moment of his life, holding this kid holding the Super Bowl or at the Super Bowl. You see Cody Rhodes every time he wins a championship. I feel like Brandy and his kids are in the front row. Like, kids should matter to you if you're a father or mother, both. And I know Hulk Hogan loved his kids just from the video. I don't know Hulk Hogan personally or whatever.
Yeah.
But it seemed like Brooke is like the only sane one, seriously, who's like, I'm not dealing with any of you crazy people. And Nick, you're included in this because you're obviously riding your dad too to success, which is whatever, man. Like, that's their family. I don't know them. We don't know them. But from what we do know Nick's a dirtbag. What we do know, Hogan hasn't made the best decisions. And what we do know, Linda's a horrible person. I hope, seriously, like, okay, if my wife starts running around with my high school, with my son's friend
that was never a good look. That's
just horrible. And the fact that you would go ride, like, okay, I'm not rich, obviously, but if I get divorced or whatever, like I have been divorced, take it all. I'm so sorry. It sucks. I'm so sad. I'm sad this didn't work out. Take it all. Like what Hogan said, I gave her 70% to go away, but it was a long fight. I'm not the kind of person who's like, give me everything. Linda was, and she got it all, and she wanted to rub it in his face. She said it. She admitted it. What a horrible person. As much as my ex-wife and I didn't get along, she would never do that to me. I don't think.
Can you
I don't
imagine?
know.
Like, honestly, like if you supposedly you are, she said it at the end, you know, when he was sick and everything, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't realize until then how much I loved him and whatever." But like, we were together since we were 20 years old or whatever she said. But that still counted then, you know. And even though you really hated him at that point, it got to that point. Yeah, he cheated. He fucked around with Brooke's friend or whatever in the studio.
Her bag.
Well, you know it. You know.
Yeah.
But you know, and you kind of see, you know, what their issues with marriage. But again, that's up to me. I don't give a shit. You know, divorce first. Don't be an idiot. You know, that's your family. You're not cheating just on your wife. You're cheating on your kids too at that point. You know.
Yep.
So that's my, again, don't want to get deep in it, but that's my point of view. However, that happens. She leaves. She knows, you know, even though like, oh, this is what happened. Like you said, first of all, she starts messing with a way younger guy. She thought it was 25, ends up being 19, still messing around with him. But it's on Hogan's boat. He hears it because he could see the beach house because he wanted to be near his beach house. He wanted her to stay in the mansion. He'll stay at the beach house, but no, they didn't let him in there. But Linda could use it. And then he hears his boat and he's on his patio or his balcony there. Probably, you know, he talks about almost committing suicide. You know, they didn't bring up, I'm forgetting her name. I think Ali's daughter, Muhammad Ali's daughter, was one of the ones who called Hogan and he said saved his life. They didn't bring that up there, but that was in the past. But he was there and he's looking down and and he sees them. And she said, "Oh yeah," he's telling him, drive right up to the house, drive up. There's Terry. And she starts saying she would make out and do all that shit in front of Hogan, and Hogan would look up from the back. Like, that's dirty, man. That's fucking, that's terrible. Like,
Trash.
you know, you don't know what he's going through. I mean, yeah, he made this, he cheated and whatever, and he's an ass. He shouldn't have done that. I don't care how unhappy. Didn't leave, separate, you know. But then he had this ugly divorce, 70% of everything. That's what he said, just to get her to go because he was sick of it, you know. So he's that miserable. That's all happening, and then he makes a stupid comment, which again, people say stupid stuff. I didn't know about this. This is the thing of to Rolling Stones, you know, and who knows what's true right now. But Hogan saying like, you know, I get it now. I understand what OJ did, you know. And yeah, on the surface, that's terrible. You don't say that, bro. Like Hogan, I mean, you know, you want to say like, I see what you're saying. It's like, don't say that. Like, dude. And what happens? The guy goes, "Oh yeah, Hogan, we're buddies, man. Let's drink. Let's have fun." And I'm gonna write this shit down. And then that was one of the first things that I never saw that part. But to me, it's like, yeah, that was pretty bad.
It was bad. I have never seen that either until this show. So that was like the one, I guess, thing I learned. What, again, though, taken out of context, I'm not defending Hogan or what he did with his Brooks friend either, by the way. Not defending that. It seems like I'm coming too hard on Linda, but she was the one talking the most about this whole situation, and I've hated her since the first moment I seen her. We have a word for her here. They're called trampas because they're tramps. Literally, like if you go to Tampa, we're full of Lindas. Like we're full of them. So don't worry, there's plenty to go around. But I don't know where I was getting at with that. I'm sorry, Linda. No, I'm not sorry, Linda. I'm not. But I want to say
I'm sorry, Linda. No, I'm not. It's like,
it just shows how terrible our system is in this society with divorces, but especially here in Florida. But that being said, I did feel bad for Hogan and for Linda and for Jimmy Hart, because he was the only one during the talking head portion like, this is a horrible idea. This show's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy seems such like a sweet dude. I don't know Jimmy Hart. I don't know much about like his backstory, his life at all. Just know him as a character.
He's the guy you want on your side. Like, he's a loyal dude, man.
Yeah, he really is. He's
even now.
He was so sweet about it, and he's like, this is a bad idea, and everything. Every time he said something about Hogan, I believed him. Oh yeah, when he got booed, that bugged him. Oh, that didn't bug me. I could sell out an arena. Like, I believe everything Jimmy Hart said. He came off really good, by the way, during this entire thing. More things on episode 4, which I really, really, I'm not shocked by, but the whole Gawker situation, when that went down, I think I was too young, or I probably didn't care about the case, but I knew about it. because it was Bubba the Love Sponge, local radio guy here, whatever. That whole thing happened. I didn't really truly understand like the impact of what was going on or why Hogan was so mad. This kind of brought, because I kind of just didn't care. This kind of brought it up to me. It's like an Aaron Andrews situation. Like literally,
Yes.
it's Aaron Andrews. How the heck did this website even think this was legal? First Amendment, brother, you're in someone's house. Like that's not First Amendment. I don't know why this case went so long. Like that should have been cut one day. Like I don't understand what happened there. But he talks about being broke. Do you think this was a setup? Him and Bubba were friends. All I'm saying is that Bubba passed this along to someone else because Hogan was broke. Said it himself. And all of a sudden he gets saved. Like, how does that happen?
Cash broke, yeah. Not us broke. Us being broke is a different thing than Hogan being broke. Let's just be real. Because he said, I give 7% of everything. He still had 30%. 30% of Hogan's is Hogan. But no, good point. Or good conspiracy theory. I didn't think of that. I will say, because again, we know what came of that. The transcripts, which eventually revealed what was said in ugly talk, right? I think we both agree on that. Nobody should ever have an excuse to use those words or whatever the hell he was saying, no matter how you felt at that point in time. There's no point. But to follow the piggyback on your point at the beginning with Gawker, like I always thought at the very beginning, before that transcript came out, and I guess you can even say, because again, as much as I disagree with the words, even when the transcript came out, again, Gawker saying, oh, well, First Amendment. No, it's not. But it's someone's house. It's behind closed doors. Like, again, that's like, there's no point in that. So I always thought that. I always thought it was wrong. I always thought it was wrong. And so, of course, though, and even if he thought Hogan's bright idea, if it's Hogan's bright idea, not saying that's true or not, but, interesting thought process, ended up biting him in the ass because ended up nothing tarnished his reputation more. Fans had their own opinions. There were fans who loved Hogan. There were fans that hated Hogan for the reasons you bring up in regards of, staying on top too long or whatever. But, you had your, nobody really thought much of Terry Bollea until those tapes came out. And then, we've heard people say a lot worse and they're fine. You've heard a lot of people, people still love Ric Flair. But, if you go back and listen to Teddy Long, what Teddy Long have said about Ric Flair, people probably would crap on that too. So, but nothing tarnished his relationship with the, and that probably speaks to how big he is. Nothing tarnished his reputation more than those audio tapes. Nothing. It kicked him out of the WWE. You had people who were like, oh, automatic racist, right? Like you didn't need to hear. You didn't have to hear from Booker T. You didn't have to hear about Stevie Ray. Nothing. Nobody cared about what anybody else had to say. They heard those tapes and that's it. You're done. And it killed him. It buried him. And I mean, so if it was his idea, which, I'm just now going on to your point, did it bite him in the ass? Because that killed him in the end. Not killed him in the end, literally. Just Terry Bollea, his reputation amongst the world.
God, it was such a weird time where celebrities were putting out sex tapes at that time. I remember when Jeremy Borash, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that guy's name, talking about like, oh, yes, we got a phone call. I'm getting a sex tape, brother. Like that was the era where everybody was. And I think
they were all up on there. Yep.
They were all set up though. Like I do believe that Kim Kardashian, like all those people wanted those out. Hogan just seemed nonchalant. Like, yeah, I got a sex tape coming out. Cool. Like he was expecting it. Like he was expecting it because at that time everybody was putting one out. Tommy Lee, Pam, they started it. Guess what? Everyone was Pamela. She blew up. Everyone blows up after it. So maybe he thought, shit, brother, Bubba, get in your closet, film me.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know. But
can anyway, I borrow your wife for a minute? Oh my goodness. It's like, no.
Well, Bubba's such a mark, brother. Like he would.
Yeah, do it 100%. Bubba's like, but
anyway, let's get off this topic. Let's go to I want to go to the booing, the Trump stuff. Now, again, I'm not a political person. Like I don't care. Like whatever you want to do. I have my own thoughts, whatever you do.
Yeah.
Hogan, like, okay, there's things that like on other shows that I am a part of where my co-hosts and people lean a certain way and they get upset on like Blue Sky and shit. That's why I'm not on there. And it's like, you can't go on and just for our little podcast. Like I truly believe, and I would say the same thing for you and FTSN and just any creator, you're killing yourself if you're going on Twitter and posting about one side or the other, regardless. I try to tell my people that, and I try to tell everyone that you are literally cutting off half your audience if you start talking about what you want to talk about. Just shut up. Just mute. Just get the F offline. Get offline. Now, Hogan, it wasn't about being online. He literally said, you know what, brother? I'm just going to wear this shirt, and I'm going to get in front of 20,000 people, and I'm just going to show people that I'm for this country, and we're getting this country back. And that really rubbed people the wrong way. It really, really did. I think the booing had direct effect to that. 100%. I think it was a bunch of everything else involved with that. But I do truly believe it had to deal with Trump and the endorsement and him doing that. It really, look at every other celebrity when they do something like that. They lose. My mom was the biggest, like, I forgot, Clint Eastwood fan. And he was talking to a chair at some point, someplace. And all of a sudden my mom stopped liking Clint Eastwood because of his stance. It's like, first off, why are we getting dumb celebrities to tell you who to vote for? That's a whole nother show. Because celebrities aren't as smart as we think they are. They're just celebrities. Second off, why would a celebrity ever agree to do something like this? I just don't, in my mind, all the good moves he's made, this might be the worst move he's ever made.
Yeah, since you said that about FTSN and Reed, like I agree. I really have not. I've probably done it one time, but really I don't. There are times I may want to, but I will not post anything political. I won't post anything there because I don't want to. I'm not going to get into it. Personally, if cameras are off and you and I are talking, we could talk. Whatever. But on air, shit stays off air. Everyone has a right to their opinion. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care whatever. Don't. It is what it is. Hogan talked about that. And then they had Trump on, and he said, "Oh, Hogan, trying to be politically correct and whatever." No, again, it's best for business. It's best for your brand. Don't shun out your brand. And that's half your base. And Natalia Neidhart said that. She goes, "Oh, when Hogan got booed, a lot of people thought it was Trump. I don't think it was about that." She goes, "I think I know what it was about." No, you don't, because I do believe it had to do with his endorsement of Trump, because he's been on after the race scandal. He came back to the WWE, and there were some people, ICW, the Internet Wrestling, IWC, and some people in the crowd, but every time the music hit, people were going crazy. People would go, still Hogan, right? You had the nostalgia bump, and nobody cared. They were, it wasn't as loud or negative as some fans on the IWC would want it to be. Hogan still got the cheers. He still showed up. But when he endorsed Trump and then he showed up on the Raw on Netflix, he got booed out of the building. It absolutely had to do with that, because at that point in time, now you drew a line in the sand, because there were some people who didn't forgive him about the race thing. But there were other people who were like, you know what? He said he's sorry. This is this or whatever. We've all done that. People make mistakes. He's still our childhood hero or whatever. But when he made that decision that, oh, they took a shot at the president, I'm not going to be a coward anymore. I'm going to wear the MAGA shirt. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go in front of 20,000 people and scream, whatever. I'm going to support one of the, most, whether you love him or hate him, the most divisive figures in history. I'm going to go support. Guess what happens? You divide your audience. And so, yeah, when you're in front of a LA, like when Triple H said, which brings back to what McMahon said. Vince McMahon wasn't in this tape, but he said it somewhere else. I forgot where. But when Triple H said, did I think he was going to get booed out of the building? Yeah, we were in LA. Yeah, you just set him up. You got to protect your brand, your characters, whatever. You set him up. That's what McMahon said. McMahon said it. He says, I forgot where it was, where I read that, but Vince McMahon said, they set up Hogan. I never would have put him in that situation. That's what Triple H did, and Hogan wasn't that situation. Now Hogan saw it from another point of view, at least, or he says that out loud, that I didn't hate it, I loved it. I started thinking, oh my God, if I could be a bad guy and I could come back, which I did hear after that fact, that after that happened, Hogan started thinking about that. Jimmy Hart said it, where you said, you're right, he came off as the most genuine person in this thing. You could tell he really did love Hulk Hogan. That was his friend. I think that's what bothered him. Like, I'll tell you again, post death, it was sad, seeing him like this. But we'll get into that in just a second. But I believe Hogan probably thought about that. Hogan probably said, "Wait, I could come back as a bad guy, man. We could probably sell a thing if I come back and somebody beats the shit out of me." He always thought that way. That's how it was, and he said it out loud, and that's what I thought. Oh, if I came back, I don't have to do a lot. I just have to get my ass kicked in front of, cut myself a little bit, make it bleed. People will go crazy. Sure. But again, you go to New York, you see Madison Square Garden, New York, people are cheering him, whatever. It's where you're at that point in time. Right. So, very quick. The second run, we has, WrestleMania 18 comes back at the WWE.
Yeah.
We forgot that part. I just want to bring this up. Has the amazing match with The Rock, which Cody Rhodes says is one of the great, if not the greatest professional wrestling.
He said it's the greatest.
Did he say I know he said the greatest WrestleMania match. Did he say the greatest match of all time?
I think he did, but I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure he did.
I know he said it's the greatest WrestleMania match, and I think he said, if not the greatest match of all time. And again, if you take off your in ring, all the little gadget moves or whatever, you think about the story, you think about what the story they told in that ring, you see the audience, the crowd, and everything. You can't. There's a it's very hard to argue what he was saying, because he talked about the negative part of it. He talked about the great part of it. He talked about WCW, where what was working, what was not working. So I really appreciated Cody's point of view, and he came off really well in this series. I would love to listen more to Cody about history, wrestling history. I think he's really good because he grew up in this business. My daughter was like, I'm sick of hearing him. I'm like, no, shit, quiet. I didn't let her watch the whole thing, but that part she was there. And then, he had this run, and then the red and yellow, and Triple H talks about, like, when when McMahon got hooked on Hogan again, he's like, holy shit, man, Hogan's still Hogan. You kind of go back to what works in Hogan, and, that we will say, because we lived in that era, that small run, Hogan, the Undisputed Championship you had here, for a certain point, it was working. I think from there to WrestleMania 19 was good. Post 19 is where, and he's right, though. Hogan said, if I could go back, I would stop after WrestleMania 18. I would have left at that point, which, again, you think about it, yes, that probably would have been the best case scenario, because you would have left on the biggest high note. Didn't work out that way. Do you want to say anything about that run very quick?
Really quick. Yeah. Triple H, we tried, so again, he was on top at that point.
Yes.
And what his words were,
I thought
we
the same
didn't like
thing.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were on top at the time, brother, and you
That's
knew
right.
Hogan was coming. You knew Hogan was coming for you, and it's just so. It's just so ironic to see the new gate. I wonder who the gatekeeper is nowadays. Because I don't think there is. I'm sure there is, but who's the gatekeeper now? Is it TKO themselves? Is it Ari Emanuel? Who is it? Because there's no real. Is it Triple H? Triple H is the top of the guy. He's probably still the gatekeeper. Shawn Michaels in the NXT.
It's the gingerbread man. That's what it is. I didn't know about the gingerbread man until yesterday, so I'm like, okay, wow. I didn't know. It's
everywhere, brother. It's everywhere, brother. Yeah, he's back. This is why we don't watch SmackDown or Collision. Just stick with Dynamite and Raw. We'll be good. No, nothing really to say about the last run, except for at least it was better than the TNA run, by far better than the TNA run. They got into that a little bit. I forgot he actually wrestled. I thought he was just a figurehead. I forgot he actually wrestled.
He was hired as a wrestler, which I didn't know. I thought he was hired as a figurehead as well, but he was hired as a wrestler. And Eric Bischoff says, man, I feel bad that I got him into that. You in the pictures, think whatever you want about Hogan, but they even talked about it. Every time you drop the leg, it would impact. Oh, and you saw his back, and you see the different images. I mean, you're like, God dang, dude. Go ahead.
So my wife was in the room while that part was on, and she has a spinal stimulator. She has that in her back. She's had it since college. She got into a bad car accident. So that's what she has. Literally what Hogan has, she has. And because he was talking about the remote, she's got the remote. She has that. That's why she wrecked my car, because it went out, and while she was driving, she lost
Oh no.
her feeling where her right side, so she couldn't pedal anymore. I'm laughing, but no, she's fine. It's just like when it goes off, I've seen it happen. I've seen what happens when it turns off. Like her body goes crazy. So she's like, holy crap, Hulk Hogan has that. And she didn't realize how much damage the body goes through just for pro wrestling. She's like, I'm floored. She got into a car accident that almost killed her. He was in multiple car accidents every single night that led up to that moment.
Think about that, because for someone who does know, you and I, who've grew up watching this, you know, if you were to say Hulk Hogan, Mick Foley. Oh, Mick Foley killed his body. He destroyed his body. You don't think of Hogan. Hogan was pretty smart with protecting himself. He wasn't that guy who would do flips and do all this stuff. So how could you hurt him? He did the most safe. He did this easiest thing: scoop slam, light drop. It's over. I mean, he did more, but you know what I'm talking about. But then you see how his back was bent. You see the way he's walking. You see all this. I mean, that was gnarly when you see the stitches and the big freaking device right in his lower back. Like, he killed his body. And that's one thing Hogan said. They asked, would you ever change anything? Hogan said, the one thing I would change is I would have done a sleeper hold. That would have been my finisher, not the leg drop. Yep. You know, he goes, I have the biggest arms in the world. I could have done a finish at this and I would have been fine. He did the leg drop and the atomic leg. And he goes, that's probably what I've changed. Would you have changed anything else? He said, nope. No, I wouldn't have changed it. That I would have. So, which stuck out to me, you know. But yeah, man. Oh my God, his body, the way he was bruised and battered and destroyed. I mean, and you just, you know, you see him. Like, we talked about this in episode 1, where he came from. You watch him in his prime, and then you go to the end, and the way he has to hold on to people's shoulders, and he uses that stick, and it's like, God dang, dude. Like, you would think not Hogan, because Hogan's like, man, he, you know, Hogan didn't do anything. You know, he did. Look at his body. I mean, that's messed up. And you know damn well it was wrestling, because what else did he do? No, that was wrestling. His body got bent out of shape. I mean, look at his spine, dude. You see that X-ray of his spine? That was horrible. Mm-hmm. It's like scoliosis. It was, but that was from the light drop. It was ridiculous. You go to where else now? So you get to the end. They skip. They talk about the Donald Trump thing. They don't talk about his second wife at all. They bring in Sky, which is his third wife. Talks about how they met. Hogan didn't want to date another blonde, or he didn't want to marry another blonde, 3 blonde wives. And, but he sees her from across the room at karaoke, the Hogan karaoke, and introduces, and, she had kids and they fall in love. He gets, he goes to church, finds Christ, gets baptized, and all that whatnot. Has 1,000 surgeries. They talk about that, which again, you don't think about. It's like, damn, dude, this guy went through every surgery. Goes for a next surgery. And then of course they get towards the end where Hogan's like, are we done? And they're like, yeah, we're done. Maybe 3 months we'll come back and, we'll probably follow up. All right, cool. They never get it. 3 months later, he's dead. He passes away, and you find out, and what we found out now was there was a, what do you call, I don't want to say malpractice. I don't know how to say that. Whatever, it's issue with the surgery. They cut the wrong cord. Complication. Thank you. They cut the wrong thing and causes stress on the heart. And it just was not the same after, you see Nick Hogan now working out at the gym by himself. You see Sky, Linda Hogan shows back up, and she talks about how, she realized when this was going on, and, as he was suffering, that she always loved him. He was loved of life. We kids together, and I did. It sucks for someone to go through that. No one deserves to go through it, which is true. Nobody, not like that. He died. He had the cardiac arrest, and he died. And you see Bruce Pritchard start breaking down and crying, and you see Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Hacksaw. I mean, seeing Hacksaw like that was sad as shit. I love Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and Nick Hogan, again, this is his son. To me, one of the most poignant, tough things to watch was him working out by himself, because they start off with him and Hogan working out in the gym, and their father and son. And again, you just talked about the criticisms of Nick Hogan, and rightfully so. We, the car crash had left his friend brain damaged and everything else, all rightful criticisms. But again, still a father and a son, and we have sons, and we know how close we are with our kids, and we would do anything for our children, and so that I get. I don't criticize Hogan for that. I get it, but so seeing that though, and seeing him now working out by himself and saying, showing his dad's shoe, which was ridiculous. You think Hogan's feet, that was a pretty crazy thing. But then you see him, he's breaking down after working out. He's crying there. And then you see Jimmy Hart. And then you see Hacksaw, and even his wife and whatever, Linda. But and then you see the SmackDown, and he Triple H says it, hey, look, we because Hogan died yesterday. We're gonna do a thing. If nobody wants to come on stage, that's okay. But we know a lot of them did. Most of them did. Even CM Punk, who's not the biggest Hogan fan, obviously. But you hear Jimmy Hart, we love you, Hulk. He's saying this. Even I forgot his name there. He was in Minnesota at that time. God, I forget his name. He's one of the big guys in Minnesota, but now one of the older wrestlers. Jimmy Hart was telling him, Hogan is happy right now. He loves this. He knows all his friends are here, and the guy's crying, he's going like that. And you see Hacksaw, like I'm trying to remember his name, but anyway, that was that made it really sad, and like you could see it, and you see the genuine thing of Jimmy Hart, and you're feeling for him. Who else? Let me tell you, what stuck out to me was Jesse the Body. Again, I love Jesse the Body being in this documentary because we know how he felt about Hogan. He's never been shy to talk about how he feels about Hogan. Never been shy about what drove their friendship to the ground. And Hogan ratted him out to McMahon about the union. We all know that story. But when he said, when Hogan died, it signified the end of my era. It like he spoke to the importance of Hogan and that him dying and what it meant to the wrestling business. To me, I truly appreciated that and spoke a lot to Jesse the Body to put himself past that hate and to speak to the importance of Hulk Hogan as the icon of professional wrestling at that point in time. Go ahead and give me your point of view of all that situation.
Yeah, that's you bring up good points with Jesse, because add on the Trump. That's another.
Oh, there's a great point. Yep. Yeah, he could have even said, I'm not saying a damn thing about it. True. Yeah. True point.
But I think Jesse is a true politician, as in he knows what to say, when to say it, how to say it. And I don't think he's ever ingenuine. I don't think he ever is. I don't think he can be. I think Jesse is who he is.
Care. He'll say what he wants. Yep.
And I think at the end of the day, he's very grateful because he knows during his commentating days, even probably with WrestleMania, which we're watching, Hogan was the main eventer. Jesse was getting paid too. If Hogan wasn't drawing those people to WrestleMania, Jesse's paycheck wouldn't have been so big.
True.
He acknowledges that stuff. Yeah. And every wrestler does. And at the end of the day, he knew what the deal was. This was a fluff piece for Hogan on Netflix. And he wanted to say some good things about it. Everybody did. And you know what? Like I said from the start of this show, an hour and 23 minutes ago, Hogan is the ultimate manipulator to make you believe in him, like him, want to be around him. And you have to kind of have that ego to be a big star. And he was. So, all the negative things I could say about Hogan, I don't know him. I don't know him at all. I don't know him at all. People might think I'm the biggest jerk. I know they do. But they don't know me. So I do find myself super hypocritical saying all this stuff, but I can only go off of what I know from a wrestling standpoint. But this show, especially episode 4, I had sympathy at some times where he was doing this stupid reality show. And that's when you knew the wheels were falling off. And that it makes me sad that this stuff is still going on in society. People still watch it. People still support it. They just can't get enough of the drama. But it's tearing these people apart, man. Look what it did to that family.
Yeah.
Pisses me off. It just makes me so upset. Society these days. But I don't want to get to that's a whole nother show, which I'm about to go into society. I'm about to go in society and see a bunch of people on a Saturday night at a restaurant. I can't wait to see that. I don't go out, brother. So
there you go. Well, anyway, again, we've talked a lot about Hulk Hogan on this show. This won't be the last time, I'm sure. There's always something that's going to come up. I mean, Hogan, again, we're still watching WrestleMania. We're still following through on that series. So this won't be the last time, I'm sure. But again, Netflix, there's a lot of stuff that was left out for sure that I would have loved to see. I would have loved to see more. I would have loved to heard Brooks' side of the story in this doc, but it is what it is. Again, I would have loved a little more stories about the NWO. We heard a little bit about Russo. I would like to hear more about that certain situation, but we didn't get a chance to do that. There was a lot of stuff. We didn't hear a lot of Vince McMahon in here. I would have loved to hear his perspective on a lot of things. But it is what it is. I still enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Backlash is tonight, so make sure you guys tune into that. I think the Rainy Day Podcast will do a post show on that. Josh and I should be back again on next Saturday for No Holds Barred Wrestling Podcast for maybe the continuation of our WrestleMania series review or our PLE rewind for WrestleMania. So make sure you tune in for that. Josh, any final thoughts to wrap this one up?
Yeah, man. We don't know celebrities. We don't know them at all. So we like to talk on social media and do whatever and say hurtful things. We as a society, myself included, need to stop. Because I think when Hogan said, and this is my last word on Hogan, yeah, it didn't bug me. I could be a heel. I can come back and sell out Madison. That's a defense mechanism. He was sad. Everyone craves approval from, especially if you're in a big business like that. And he got it his entire life for like 50, 40, whatever, how long it was. It was sad to see his ego get destroyed like that. But man, it was a fun night. It was a fun night to watch, though. I'll just say that. I remember, I'll never forget that night. And I'm going, man, he's really powering through this. He's really good. He's a professional. And you know what? As much as you want to hate on Hulk Hogan or myself hate on Hulk Hogan, again, we wouldn't be here right now. We would not be here right now talking about wrestling, period, at all. We'd be doing something about boring basketball or something like that. But no, we're here talking pro wrestling. So I love to see it, man. I cannot wait to get into more Hulk Hogan main events. We got a couple more to go until he's gone, right? When is he gone?
So after WrestleMania 9. But I will say that's
Can't
true.
wait.
I like you put the point you brought up. For me, that's kind of really, really, I don't want to say bittersweet. It was sad because that's the last thing. Like, he was so invested in that character, so invested in professional wrestling that the last time he was ever on WWE TV, he was booed. And then he died not too long after. So that's tragic and within itself, at least in my opinion. So go ahead.
And I do got to say, this is not Hulk Hogan related. I put this out there in the universe. If you're in my hometown of Tampa Bay and you're at Benchmark Arena right now and you're somehow watching us, boo the F out of John Cena. If the word Club WWE comes out of his mouth, boo him out of the building. Tell TKO we don't care. That's it. That's my last words.
Club WWE. That's the rumored announcement. Even though now it's saying like, oh, maybe it's not the announcement. Maybe there's something else brewing back there. We'll see. I don't think so. Very quick. I'm just going to ask you there, who wins, Jacob or Roman Reigns?
Well, okay. Glad you asked. Roman's going to win the match in a 45-minute banger. And the next night on Raw, Ethan Page is going to come out and squash him in 3 minutes.
Like,
why not? Why not, brothers? Why not? I don't know. Like, why not? Who cares, right? Who cares?
I like it. I pick Roman, though. I do have Roman winning.
Of course, Roman's going to win.
But anyway, guys, thank you all for tuning in. Like and subscribe. Let's get over 4,000. Let's get to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's get there. We're going to get to 4,000 first. That's Josh Kimmel. I'm Bobby Finstock. Like and subscribe. Have a good night. Enjoy your weekend.